Good evening and welcome to our June 13th Board of Selectmen meeting. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We will start with the reading of the agenda. We will go over May 23rd meeting minutes. We will then move on to community relations, announcements, and open forum. We will then move on to appointments and resignations, of which we have 8 items. Number 1 is the planning board for an alternate appointment. Number 2, we'll be holding over for the finance director and police chief assessment center. We'll hold that to a next meeting. Item number 3 is the appointment of 6 auxiliary officers. Item number 4 is an appointment for an insurance advisory committee. Item number 5 is the reappointments for terms expiring June 30th, 2017. Item number 6 is a resignation for an auxiliary officer. Item number 7 is a resignation appointment for the Zoning Board of Appeals. And item number 8 is a resignation for the Council on Aging. We have several items under scheduled appointments. We have a 6:40 poll hearing for Brookfield Road. We have a 6:45 poll hearing for H. Putnam Road. We have a 6:50 appointment for CMG Environmental concerning 4 Dresser Hill Road and the former highway garage. We have a 7 o'clock appointment with the Knights of Columbus for a special license request. And we have a 7:15 appointment for the 508 Beverage LLC for a discussion of special license. Under new business, we have 7 items. Number 1 is the site plan approval for Borrego Solar. Item number 2 is the fine appeal for lower fee for a building permit. Item number 3 is a disclosure form for McClure Engineering Incorporated. Item number 4 is a request for sign on the town common. Item number 5 is the policy for buy recycle. Item number 6, the end of year budget transfer requests. And item number 7 is the school building committee brought by Selectman Singer. Since he's not here tonight, we will hold that to our next meeting. Under old business, we have 1 item, and that's our selectman appointments to committees. We'll then move on to committee reports and board of selectmen policy reviews. Then a town administrator's report, and then other business. Currently, we have an email from Selectman Noble, and then any other business unknown at the time of posting. And our next meeting will be July 18th. And with that, what is the board's wishes for May 23rd regular meeting minutes?
I move that we accept the minutes.
Thank you.
I'll second it.
The motion is second. Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion passes. Thank you. We'll now move on to announcements. From the sewer department, a reminder to all senior sewer customers, July 1st, 2017 is our new year. Please bring your completed senior discount forms with your identification materials to the wastewater treatment plant at 8A Worcester Road on or before June 30th to qualify for the senior discount. Household Hazardous Waste Collection Day. It will be held on Saturday, June 24th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Casella Waste Services Facility on 165 Barefoot Road. A proof of residency is required. For more information, please visit townofcharlton.net. Family Movie Night, sponsored by the Charlton Recreation Commission, will be held at the top of Maynard Field on Dresser Hill Road. When? It will be Wednesday, June 28th, July 5th, July 12th, July 19th, and July 22nd, with 1 rain date if needed. The movies are to be determined. For more information, please follow the Town of Charlton website and the Charlton Happenings for the titles. The time will begin at 8:30 and it'll go to 10:30. Make sure to bring blankets, chairs, and bug spray. For tips on how to deal with mosquitoes, ticks, and gypsy moths, please visit the Board of Health page on the Town of Charlton website, townofcharlton.net. The town hall will be closed Tuesday, July 4th, in observance of the 4th of July. Yes.
I want to stop you here. I just actually put something under other business, but since you're saying that it's going to be, because of the 4th of July is on a Tuesday,
Mm-hmm.
I did receive some emails from other towns who are asking whether towns are going to close on Monday. There's a lot of towns that are allowing, if all of the staff will take a vacation, a personal day. I'm bringing this up because generally you have allowed that when the union has come and said, can we close the town hall on Monday? So I wanted to just ask you now, because you're not going to be meeting again until July.
Do we need a motion?
If you gave me a motion that said if everybody's willing to take a vacation or a personal day, that you could close Monday, I'll work with the union and see if they would like to do that.
So I'll make that motion.
And I'll second it.
Thank you for the motion. Second, just to clarify, that is to authorize the town to close on July 3rd, pending agreement from the unions that everyone will take a personal or vacation day.
Yes. So it will cost the town nothing, and we can get, it also helps us because we have so many vacations going on, so trying to fill some of those positions are difficult too, so.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
For a motion and a second, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion passes. Enjoy the 4-day weekend. Continuing with announcements, Old Home Day will be, Old Home Day weekend will be held Saturday, September 2nd, on a Monday. So held Saturday, September 2nd, and Monday, September 4th. Booth applications are available at the Town of Charlton website. Police Chief Charette would like to recognize Sergeant Keith Cloutier, who has been nominated to be recognized for the MPTC, the Municipal Police Training Committee, First Responder Recognition Awards by the Statewide Advisory Committee for the CPR/First Responders on June 8th, 2017. Sergeant Cloutier will be recognized for going above and beyond his law enforcement duties and rendering medical assistance to a person in need, which demonstrates that his CPR/First Responder training was beneficial in saving a life. With that, are there any other announcements? Is there anyone here for open forum? Sir, please make sure you come up, speak your name into the microphone, and may begin.
John Jordan, 68 H-Foot Road.
Make sure you speak right into the mic.
Is that better?
Yep.
Okay. I just found out that the Stearns parcel may not be available for purchase for the town for the ACO, for the pump house required by the ACO, which could put the whole deal in jeopardy if we don't finish that by the end of July, I believe, if that's true. And I don't think we can probably get a second parcel done before the end of July, allowing possible parties to walk away from the deal. Why wouldn't the town entertain using eminent domain to obtain this parcel of land for the good of the community?
That's a good question. Do we have an answer?
Well, a couple of pieces. First, there were two properties that were identified for a pump station. So this is the first and the preferred. An offer has been made and declined by to the owners. And we are now going to begin to talk with the second owner. I don't think it puts the project in jeopardy. I think that is one of the reasons why the design is not happening on H-Foot Road, or will not be completed until we know exactly where the pump station is gonna go. So, it was said to DEP and the town of Southbridge that we had that one or a backup. I don't think anybody thought to actually put that other property in the ACO, but I don't see an issue with it. And I will definitely follow up. This has just happened in the last week, and so it's pretty new. And I haven't even had an opportunity to talk with the Water Sewer Commission about the second parcel yet, although I've spoken with the chair and the staff. So what I will do is, at your next meeting, I'll have something for you ready as to what the status of both of those are, and I will contact DEP to make sure that I don't, because it says it needs to be in 90 days, I know Heather from Southbridge has told you that we would just get an extension, so I don't think that that's going to cause a problem. We just need to be able to purchase the land.
And this also affects the Exxon line too, coming up 169, because they can't do
Either,
that without
we've
that?
stubbed both, so both
Okay.
properties are fine.
Okay.
So there won't be any issue.
And I'm not sure how these work for a town purchase, but do you feel like it could be purchased by the end of July?
I feel that we'll be able to get a purchase of one of the sites, and if it's not done by the end of July, we'll get an extension, and we will move forward.
Okay, thank you.
We've worked too hard to let this go by. This
That's
is,
how I feel.
I agree.
Good question.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Thanks, John.
Is there anyone else here for open forum? Seeing none, we'll move on to appointments and resignations. And number one is for the planning board alternate and an appointment. Ms. Craver?
Yes, sir. As you know, we've been working with the reappointments for terms that will expire on June 30th, 2017. Planning Board alternate member Lisa Dickon is one of them. This appointment is a joint appointment by both the Planning Board and the Board of Selectmen. They do wish to have her reappointed, so the members are here, and Lisa's here. If you guys want to come forward.
Yep, if you come forward, please, in an open meeting, and then if you make the motion, we can do this by roll call vote.
And if you can say your names for the record, please.
At this time, I'd like to do a
Make sure
roll
you
call
speak
vote.
into the microphone.
I'd like to do a roll call vote for the members of the board at this time. Chairman Peter Stakas.
Jean Vincent,
Ross Lemansky.
Alicia Cheek.
If you want to make the motion,
Yes.
do we want to make the motion?
Doesn't matter. I'll make the motion. I make a motion that we appoint Alicia Zeek as the planning board alternate member.
I second it.
Thank you. A motion and second. Any discussion? First, I want to thank you for wanting to stay aboard. So we'll do this by roll call vote. Mr. McGrath?
Aye.
Ms. Noble?
Aye.
And I'll have you go through your board.
Do I have a roll call vote with Jean? Ross? And myself, yes.
Right? And yourself as well?
Absolutely.
And the chair votes aye. Motion passes. Welcome back on.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Alicia.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice to see you all. I appreciate the
Yeah.
time.
No problem. Thank you. With that, we'll move on to item number 3 under appointments and resignations. And that's the appointment of 6 auxiliary officers. Ms. Craver?
Yes, sir. Police Chief Charette is asking the board to appoint the following 6 applicants as Charlton Police Auxiliary Officers. Ryan Stanley, Justina Lepre, and I may end up botching some of these names, excuse me. Robert Gennati, Daniel Brunel, Ryan Sweeney, and Gregory Patella. So, these applicants come with a wide range of experience from a retired police sergeant, military members, and applicants looking to start their careers in law enforcement. They all meet the minimum required training through the MPTC.
Thank you.
And they're here, so would you like to present them?
Yes.
Absolutely, Chief. I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you, thank you. I'd like to recognize Officers Martacci and Quadrant, who have taken over the responsibility for the auxiliary department. They did a fantastic job in doing the backgrounds and all the necessary work to bring these candidates to you. 4 of the candidates are here this evening, and I'd like to present them. 2 could not make it. 1 has military duty, and 1 is actually out of police training. But if the other 4 candidates would come up, please, I'd just like to introduce. This is Justin Lapierre. This is Robert Giannati. Thank you. Daniel Brunel and Gregory Patinelli.
Welcome.
I appreciate your consideration. I believe they would all be an excellent addition to the department and a great asset to the community.
Thank you, Chief. And what is the wishes of the board?
Through the chair.
Mr. McGrath?
I make a motion that we appoint Ryan A. Stanley, Justina M. Lapierre, Robert E. Gennati, Daniel T. Brunel, Ryan J. Sweeney, and Gregory A. Petinella as auxiliary officers for the Charlton Police Department.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Motion and second. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion passes.
Thank you
Welcome
very much.
aboard.
Thank you. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Congratulations. Thank you very much.
Oh, yeah. So, it's nice.
We'll now move on to item number 4 in the appointments and resignations, and that's the Insurance Advisory Committee. Ms. Craver?
Yes, sir. Attached is a request from the Human Resource Department asking the board to make the following appointments to the Insurance Advisory Committee per the town's Personnel Bylaw, Chapter 5, Section 2, Health Insurance. Monica Redmond as a member at large, Deborah Ciccarini, the non-contractual member, Nancy Chalk, Library Member Representative, Steve Wandlin, Water and Sewer Member Representative, James Purvier, Retiree Representative, and Mary Stone, Retiree Representative. Other members have been duly elected and or appointed by their organizations as per Mass General Law, Chapter 32B, Section 3, for the Clerical Union, the Police Alliance, Permanent Firefighters Association, and the Highway Department. I would recommend the board make the appointments as requested, and they are here tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Graber. What are the wishes of the board?
Through the chair.
Mr. McGrath.
I make a motion that we appoint Monica Redmond, Deborah Ceccarini, Nancy Chalk, Stephen Wanlon, James Purvier, and Mary Snow to the Insurance Advisory Committee.
Second.
Thank you. A motion and a second, please. You come up, make sure you come up to the mic.
And state your name.
Yeah, please state your name for the record and speak right into the mic. You know all the rules.
And Nancy Chalk, City Depot. Janet Crockett was going to be representing the clerk, or the UPAC union.
The Board of Selectmen does not make those appointments, the unions do. So
Okay.
that's where I said other members have been duly appointed by the unions.
Okay.
So,
I
thank you.
just expected hearing. Thank you.
Good question. Good point. Any other questions or comments? It's good to see Mr. Purvier here. It's hard to keep him away from Charlton. And I want to thank him again for coming out to Memorial Day to grace us with his rendition of America the Beautiful. Is that what it was? Yeah. No? No, it was not. I forgot, what song was that?
God bless.
God bless him. God bless the U.S. That's right.
It's all right, it's all good.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion passes. Thank you for stepping up. We now move on to item number 6, item number 5 under appointments and resignations, the reappointments for terms expiring June 30th.
Mr. Chair, attached is a list of reappointments for terms expiring June 30th, 2017. We are still waiting to hear from some of the appointees, and they will be brought before you at your next meeting. The following will not be seeking reappointment. Letters thanking them for their time have been prepared and are in your sign folder. Robert Burnham, Bylaw Committee, Fred Papalardo, Bylaw Committee, Rich Cahill, Central Mass Regional Planning Committee alternate, Leonard Cardinal, Conservation Commission, Irene Langevin, Council on Aging, and John Baumhart, the Cultural Council. These that I've read are vacant, and we will be putting them on the cable. So if there's anyone at home that are thinking that they might want that seat, please contact us. I would recommend that the board make the appointments as listed.
And those are listed on the following page, on page 30.
Through the chair.
Mr. McGrath?
I make a motion that we make the reappointments per the list for the committees that are assigned to side of the names.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is second to reappoint for the positions for terms expiring June 30th, 2017. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion passes. Thank you. We'll now move on to item number 6, the resignation for Steve Paul, Auxiliary Officer. Ms. Craver?
Yes, sir. Attached is a letter from Steve Paul resigning as Auxiliary Police Officer for the Town of Charlton Police Department effective immediately. The board should accept his resignation. A letter thanking him for his services in your sign folder.
Thank you. What are the wishes of the board?
Through the chair.
Mr. McGrath?
I make a motion that we accept Stephen R. Paul's resignation from the Auxiliary Police Force.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is second. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion passes. Thank you. Item number 7, the resignation appointment for the Zoning Board of Appeals. Ms. Craver?
Yes, sir. Attached is a resignation from Candace Sutherland, resigning from the Zoning Board of Appeals due to personal issues. The board should accept her resignation. A letter thanking her for her time has been prepared and is in your sign folder. The Zoning Board of Appeals has requested that the Board of Selectmen appoint Robert McGrath from an alternate position to replace Ms. Sutherland. Ms. Sutherland's term is due to expire on June 30th, 2019, so that would be the new termination date for Mr. McGrath, should the board make the appointment. We will place the opening of the alternate on cable and the town's website. And are the board, any members of the ZBA here?
Is anyone from the zoning board of appeals here? No. Then what are the wishes of the board?
Through the chair.
Mr. McGrath.
I would just like to make note that Mr. McGrath is not a relative of mine.
That was my next question.
So,
Through the chair,
Ms. Noble.
I make a motion that we accept the resignation of Candace Sutherland and thank her for her service, and that we appoint Robert McGrath from the alternate position to replace her until the end of her term on June 30th, 2019.
Thank
Second.
you. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
aye.
Chair votes aye, motion passes. Thank you very much. And then our last item under appointments and resignations, the resignation for the Council on Aging. Ms. Craver?
Yes, sir. Attached is a letter from Irene Lavingen, resigning from the Council on Aging effective June 30th, 2017. Ms. Langevin has been on the board for 8 years. We have placed the opening on cable and the town's website. A letter thanking her for her time and commitment has been prepared and is in your sign folder.
Thank you very much. What are the wishes of the board?
Through the chair,
Ms. Noble?
I make a motion that we accept the resignation of Irene Langevin, thank her for her service, and
Second.
accept her resignation.
Thank you. A motion and a second. Discussion? It's really sad to see all these people go, but we do really appreciate all their service. So, seeing no other discussion, we'll move to a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Chair votes aye, motion passes. Thank you. We will now move on to our scheduled appointments, and my apologies for running a little late for these, but we'll start with our 6:40 poll hearing for the Brookfield Road. Ms. Craver?
Yes, sir. Attached, you'll find a request from National Grid and Verizon New England seeking to relocate one jointly owned pole on Brookfield Road. Also attached is the notice that was sent to the abutters. This request has been forwarded and approved by both the chief of police and the highway superintendent. The chairman should open the public hearing by reading the notice as sent to abutters.
Thank you. I'll do so right now. A public hearing notice. The Charlton Board of Selectmen will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, June 13th, 2017 at 6:40 p.m. in the Selectmen's Meeting Room at 37 Main Street, Charlton, Mass. 01507 to act on a request from National Grid and Verizon New England seeking permission to locate poles, wires, and fixtures, including the necessary sustaining and protecting fixtures along and across the following public way. Brookfield Road, relocate one jointly owned pole numbered T.94/E.42 to a point on the southwesterly side of Brookfield Road approximately 240 feet northwesterly from the center line of Osgood Road. Anyone wishing to be heard on this matter should appear on the date and time specified or submit any concerns in writing, and declare that public hearing open at 6:55 p.m. Ms. Craver, did we receive any concerns in writing?
We did not, but I do have a question.
Absolutely.
Since we're relocating the pole, you're relocating the pole, will the other pole be removed, and how long do you think it'll take for that removal?
Yep, and sir, just before you answer that question, could you please speak your name and you may begin.
Okay, for the record, my name's Paul Davis. I work for a company by the name of UC Synergetic out of Sunderland. We're a contract engineering company doing work for Verizon, and I'm here tonight representing Verizon on their behalf. So with your answer to your question, yes, the existing pole will be removed, and that pole being proposed here tonight on the petition basically is a mainline pole tying into the solar farm that's going to go there. So that pole will tie into the solar farm to bring electricity out to the main line.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Is anyone here for the public meeting and have any questions?
Through the chair.
Mr. McGrath?
I make motion that we close the public hearing.
Second.
Thank you. Motion second to close the public hearing. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll move to a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, and the public hearing is now closed at 6:56 p.m.
Through the chair.
Mr. McGrath?
I make a motion that we allow Verizon to relocate one jointly owned pole number T-94/E.42 to a point on the southwesterly side of Brookfield Road, approximately 240 feet northwesterly from the center line of Osgood Road.
Second.
Fantastic. A motion and second. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion passes. Thank you. We'll now move on to our 6:45 poll hearing for the H. Putnam Road. Ms. Craver?
Yes, sir, attached, you'll find a request from Verizon New England Incorporated and Mass Electric Company seeking to place a jointly owned pole on H. Putnam Road Extension. Also attached is the notice that was sent to the abutters. This request has been forwarded and approved by both the Chief of Police and Highway Superintendent. The chairman should open the public hearing by reading the notice as sent to the abutters.
And I'll do so now. A public hearing notice. The Charlton Board of Selectmen will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, June 13th, 2017, at 6:45 PM in the Selectmen's Meeting Room at 37 Main Street, Charlton, Mass., to act on a request from Verizon New England Incorporated and Massachusetts Electric Company seeking permission to locate poles, wires, cables, and fixtures, including the necessary anchors, guides, and other sustaining fixtures on the following public way or ways. H. Putnam Road Extension. Place one jointly owned pole numbered T.4 1/2/E.4-50 on a northeasterly side of H. Putnam Road Extension at a point approximately 481 feet northwesterly from the center line of the North Main Street. Anyone wishing to be heard on this matter should appear on a date and time specified or submit any concerns in writing. I'm to declare the public hearing open at 6:58 PM. Ms. Craver, did we receive any concerns in writing?
I did not.
Did not. Is there any questions from the board? Any questions from the public?
I do.
Yes, Ms. Craver.
I'm noticing that there's 3 poles here, very close in proximity, and the existing poles will remain. I'm just curious as why you're putting another pole so close to that, and will it crowd out that corner?
Sir, can you answer that question?
Yes, basically, this pole here is a midspan pole. It has to be in that location to be, again, in line for the mainline pole connecting to the solar farm. So what National Grid would like us to do when we go out and engineer these jobs is to have that pole straight in line with their poles going into the solar farm. So that pole there, being 45 feet to the left, if you're facing the existing pole, is the straight in line pole, which will become the mainline pole connecting to the solar farm.
And you wouldn't be able to relocate either one of these other 2 poles on either side?
No.
Okay.
Are there any more questions, concerns? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
Through the chair.
Mr. McGrath.
I make motion that we close the public hearing.
Second.
Thank you. A motion is second to close the hearing. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll move to a vote. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. The motion is now, motion passes, and the hearing is closed at 7:00 PM. And what are the board's wishes for acceptance of the poll?
Through the chair.
Mr. McGrath.
I make a motion that we allow Verizon of New England to place one jointly owned pole numbered T.4.5E.4-50 on the northeasterly side of H. Putnam Road Extension at a point approximately 481 feet northwesterly from the center line of North Main Street.
Thank you. Is there
Second.
a motion and a second? Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Chair votes aye. Motion passes. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
I appreciate you being here to answer any question.
Thank you.
We'll now move on to our 6:50 appointment with CMG Environmental for 4 Dresser Hill Road in the former highway garage. Ms. Craver?
Yes, please find attached 2 proposals from CMG Environmental Incorporated for environmental services for the period covering July 1st, 2017 through June 30th, 2018 for the Old Highway Barn located at 54 North Main Street and the Community Center located at 4 Dresser Hill Road. In FY10, CMG Environmental reduced its fees for both sites and will continue to hold the same 2% discount. Ben Gould from CMG is here to review the proposals with you. These costs are paid from the environmental account.
Thank you, and welcome, Mr. Gould.
Thank you.
What are the wishes of the board, or if there's any discussion or questions?
Can we have him go through, or you're all set and have no questions?
Read through it, it's pretty,
Okay,
It's pretty boilerplate,
Yeah.
and we've
Yeah.
dealt
Business
with
as
this
usual.
numerous times, so,
okay.
stuff that's not really going to go away.
all right. Through the chair.
Mr. McGrath?
I make a motion that we accept CMG's proposals for environmental services for the period covering July 1st, 2017 through June 30th, 2018 for the old highway barn located at 54 North Main Street and the community center located at 4 Dresser Hill Road.
Second.
Thank you. A motion and a second. Is there any discussion? And just to clarify, the total recommended budget for FY 2018 is $10,133. Seeing no further discussion, we'll move to a vote. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion passes. Thank you very much, Mr. Gould.
That was for one, and then the
Oh.
other one is 4,000.
And the
Just
4,000?
Minimum fee is the 4,996. There's two separate proposals there.
So
But
which,
his motion's fine.
Okay.
I just didn't want somebody to think that it was only one.
Yep.
So there's two. We're all set.
all right, thank you very much. So, we'll now move on to our 7 PM appointment with the Knights of Columbus for a special license request. Ms. Craver?
Yes, sir. At the board's last meeting, this request for a special liquor license for the Knights of Columbus was read. It was asked to hold until tonight's meeting when a full board is here. We were also asked to get the history on the event. As this is the first time for this type of event, Alan Terminate, am I saying that correctly?
It's close.
From the Knights of Columbus will be present to explain the concept of the event. This request is for a special liquor license for all alcohol, nonprofit organizations only, sponsored by the Knights of Columbus to be used for dinner and entertainment, stimulated horse racing, including the Kentucky Derby, on October 14th, 2017, from 4 p.m. to 11 p.m. at St. Joseph's Church Hall. This request has been forwarded and approved by the Building Commissioner, Fire Department, and Police Department. Per the board's policy, the license, if the days requested are approved, should be issued for 2 additional days for the following reasons. October 13th would be to allow the delivery of alcohol to the establishment where no sales would be allowed. October 14th for sale on the approved date and time as listed, and October 15th to allow pickup of any unused alcohol, which there were, again, would be no sales allowed. These dates would be reflected on the license.
Thank you, Ms. Craver. And before we take any action, could you please introduce yourselves for the record, your name and affiliation?
Alan Trammell, Knights of Columbus, Charlton, and this is
Steve McGrath, with Senior Neary Council in Auburn.
No relation.
No relation.
Fair enough.
Further job. That's
It's a popular name, it's a popular name this evening.
Yeah, I'm surprised there's not a lot more Safaroviches out there. So what are the board's wishes then on the license request?
Through the chair.
Mr. McGrath?
I make a motion that we approve the license request with the dates as following: October 13th to allow delivery of alcohol, October 14th for the sale of the approved at the date and time as listed, and October 15th to allow for pickup of any unused alcohol.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Your motion is second. Discussion. Ms. Craver, do you know off the top of your head when was the last time we've had a full alcohol request? Because most of, I think,
do not.
my entire time here has always been wine and all
Yeah.
beverages.
I don't think I remember one.
Is there any more discussion on the motion?
No.
As long as you're not racing any motorized vehicles, I think that's
Say
fine.
it again?
I'm just making a joke.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. So seeing no further discussion, we'll move to a vote. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion passes. Thank you very much, and
Thank you.
good luck with your event.
Thank you.
Nice try. It was good.
All right. Well, we are still a little early for a 7:15, so if, with the board's indulgence, we'll move on to new business to get some of those out of the way. Seeing no objection, we'll move on to item number 1 under old business, new business. That's the site plan approval for Borrego Solar. Ms. Craver?
Yes, sir. Attached is a site plan application submitted to the planning board by Borgio Solar for approval of a 1.9 megawatt commercial ground-mounted solar array and associated utility connection on approximately 8 acres of property owned by Gunther LLC located southwesterly off of Horn Homestead Road and is zoned agricultural. You are asked to review and provide comments or concerns, if any, no later than June 14th.
Thank you very much. And what are the wishes of the board? I personally would like to pass on Selectman Singer's usual comments. Just, that seemed the board that was.
Make sure the screening is
Make sure
correct.
all the, that it takes the appropriate actions to make sure it's acceptable visually for the neighbors.
Okay. Are any of the neighbors here tonight?
All right, is anyone here for the Borrego Solar? Usually they will attend the planning board meeting.
Yeah, the-
But good question.
Mhm.
Seeing no further questions or comments, we have no other comments. Thank you, Ms. Graver.
Okay.
We'll now move on to item number 2 under new business, and that's the fine appeal for lower fee for building permits. Ms. Graver?
Yes, sir. Attached is a request from Jason LeBoeuf seeking an appeal for a lower fee to a building permit fee that he has paid. The building permit fee was issued to him on May 22nd for a replacement deck. There was a miscalculation of the total square footage of the structure, resulting in a higher than necessary permit fee. The original fee was based on 925 square feet of deck, which resulted in the amount of $450. However, the actual square footage of the deck was later determined to be 675 square feet, and the permit fee should have been $375. Building Commissioner Kurt Meskis does not disagree with the appeal, but is not authorized to issue a refund. Per the board's policy, number 32, inspectional services fee fine approval, this must be approved by the Board of Selectmen.
Thank you, Ms. Graver. And just to clarify, does not disagree. It's a double
Did I say
negative there.
that? Did not?
I believe so. The building Commissioner Meskis
Does
is
not.
not against it.
Yes.
Okay.
I would recommend that the board approve the refund of $75, which will be taken out of the building permits line item.
Thank you. And what are the wishes of the board?
Go ahead.
Ms. Noble,
No, go ahead, that's-
Sorry.
by a
Through the
half
chair.
second.
I make a motion and would recommend that the board approve the refund of $75 to, Jason
Mr.
LeBoeuf.
Yep.
Second?
Motion is second. Is there any discussion? I think we're setting another precedent, at least since I've been here.
Mhm.
In your time, have you seen this being taken up before?
No.
No? Sounds good. All right, is there any other discussion? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion passes. Thank you. We'll now move on to item number 3 under new business, a disclosure form for McClure Engineering Incorporated. Ms. Craver?
Yes, sir. On February 14th, the Board of Selectmen voted McClure Engineering as a special municipal employee. McClure Engineering will be working with Highway Superintendent Foskett on the Potter Village Road repair. McClure Engineering is filing the disclosure as they will have a new financial interest in a contract made by a municipal agency. I would recommend the board approve the disclosure as submitted.
Thank you. What are the wishes of the board?
Through the chair.
Mr. McGrath?
I move that we approve the disclosure by Mr. McClure, by McClure Engineering as submitted.
Thank you.
Second.
Your motion is second. Is there any discussion on the motion?
One comment.
One comment, yes, sir.
It's nice to see all the paperwork being done.
Absolutely. And, and just reinforcing the board's commitment to making sure everything is disclosed. We're following all ethical rules and regulations. All right, seeing no further discussion, I'll move to a vote. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion passes. Thank you very much. We're still a little early, so we will go on to item number 4 under new business, and that's a request for a sign on town common. Ms. Craver?
Yes, sir. Attached is a letter from Building Commissioner Meskis stating that the Friends of the Charlton Public Library have requested a permit from him for a permanent sign on the town common across from the way leading to the sports fields. Traditional signs on the common for commercial enterprises have not been permitted. Signs for charity or civic events have been limited to time immediate to the event. Occasionally, the changeable message board located on the north end of the common has been used for specific municipal messages. In the requested location is a weathered sign for the West Ridge Cemetery and a yield to pedestrian sign. In addition, there are some traffic control signs and 2 historical marker signs. The Board of Selectmen, as custodians of town property, need to grant approval for the Friends of the Charlton Public Library to erect the proposed sign on the town common. The request would be to add this sign below the West Ridge Cemetery sign on the same post. Best efforts will be made to refresh the West Ridge Cemetery sign as well. Staff has contacted James Burlingame, Cemetery Superintendent, and asked him to seek approval from his board as it is a cemetery sign. Mr. Burlingame said that he had brought it to his board and they approved. They appreciate the efforts that will be made to refresh the West Ridge Cemetery sign. I would recommend the board approve this request.
Thank you very much. And what are the wishes of the board?
Through the chair.
Mr. McGrath.
I move the Friends of the Charlton Library be authorized to erect a sign shown below with arrow on the same sign post as the West Ridge Cemetery sign, with efforts made to refresh the West Ridge Cemetery sign.
Second.
Thank you. A motion is second. And the picture referenced below is a picture of someone reading a book. Are there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote on the motion. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Chair votes aye, motion passes. Thank you very much. We will now move on to item number 5 under new business, a policy for buy recycled. Ms. Craver?
Yes, sir. Charlton's recycled product procurement policy has not been updated since September 8, 1998. The Recycling Committee is asking the board to approve some changes they are proposing to qualify for this year's Sustainable Materials Recovery Municipal Grant Program. We would replace the existing with the following. Buy recycled policy. In its commitment to environmental responsibility, the town of Charlton conducts 4 hazardous waste days each year to encourage residents to recycle many items that should not be in the waste stream. Also, Charlton residents pay a number of trash haulers that provide single-stream recycling along with trash pickup. Buying recycled products is another important component to this issue. In recognition of the need to make more efficient use of our natural resources, create markets for the materials collected in recycling programs, reduce solid waste volume and disposal costs, and serve as a model for private and public institutions, the town of Charlton is committed to purchase products which are environmentally preferable and/or made of recyclable materials whenever such products meet quality requirements and are available at reasonable prices and terms. To the maximum extent practical, the following standards should be adhered to. A, for all purchases of printing and writing paper for in-house use or custom printed materials by professional printers, including copy paper, offset paper, forms, stationery, envelopes, tablets, notepads, and file folders, the minimum content standard should be no less than 30% post-consumer recyclable materials to meet the current state and federal minimum standards. B, the town department shall ensure that all contracts for printing require the inclusion of an imprint identifying the recycled content of the paper whenever practical, along with this recycled symbol, and additional items that may be purchased with recyclable content include but not limited to janitorial paper products, remanufactured toner cartridges, office supplies, trash bags, refined oil, and antifreeze. Attached is an old recycled product procurement policy to use as a reference. I would recommend the board approve the policy as submitted. The Recycling Committee works very hard to keep the town of Charlton clean. They have also ordered signs that say, "Please don't litter," and the Highway Department and some of the members of the committee have placed them throughout town. Once the policy is approved, a requirement for the grant is to have the Board of Selectmen or authorized signatories sign the policy so that it may be submitted with the recycling grant. What is the board's wishes?
Thank you, Ms. Craver. And that's usually my line. What are the wishes of the board?
There was a lot in
Gaston.
that.
Through the chair.
Mr. McGrath.
I make a motion that we replace the 1998 recycling, Charlton recycled product procurement policy with the new proposed policy by the Recycling Committee.
Second.
Thank you. A motion and a second. Any discussion? I'm glad to see Charlton continue its obligations and commitment to being a green community. And I want to thank the Recycling Committee and Kara and everyone else who's worked on this for their work on it. Is there any more discussion? Seeing none, we'll move forward to a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Chair votes aye, motion passes. Thank you. And we'll finish
You're
off.
okay with me signing for
Yes.
you?
Yeah.
Okay, just,
And we'll finish off item number 6, then we'll go to the 7:15 appointment
okay.
while we're here. Ms. Craver? This is the end-of-year budget transfer requests.
Actually, that may be a little bit longer,
Never mind.
since it's, you may want to hold
I know
that one and come back.
the excitement for 7:15 is very high. So then, we'll move on to our 7:15 scheduled appointment with the 508 Beverage LLC, discussion of a special license and violation. Ms. Craver, please set the table.
Yes, sir. Tonight you have, excuse me, you have two items of discussion with 508 Beverage LLC. First is for the violation of the special liquor license stipulations. And second, you are holding a public hearing for live entertainment request. So regarding the first one, at your last meeting, discussion was held regarding the liquor license violations of the restrictions placed on them. The board discussed holding the discussion until a full board was present. We were asked to provide the following for this meeting. Ask the police and fire departments to provide any reports for incidents with the events. Contact the town planner and ask if he could be very clear and concise with the conditions. Ask the planning board to attend the meeting. See if the conditions for this site are online, and provide any comments or concerns from residents. In reference to those items, first, the fire department has stated that there have been no fire or EMS-related incidents for that venue. They do not go up there as they do go up as a department for a walkthrough and operations familiarization, and have been met with open arms at every incident. The police department had one person under police protective custody for being intoxicated and received 2 complaints about people using Ladd Road in Sturbridge as an exit. Chief Charette also included 4 emails about noise, mostly loud matters. Regarding numbers 2 and 3, Mr. McGrath talked to the town planner, Gordon, and is prepared to speak on the planning board conditions. Would you like to do that now, or let me finish the?
No, you can finish.
Okay, and then we'll go back to that.
Mhm.
All right, number 4, the conditions of all relative information on this site are online on the planning board's page. And 5, attached are letters and emails of concern from Amy Stanley, the town of Sturbridge, Charisse Martinez, John Sanborn, and Sarah Sanborn. As you know, 508 Beverage LLC was approved for one-day liquor licenses to be used on April 22nd, May 7th, May 20th and 21, June 10th and 11th, and July 1st and 2nd. At your previous meeting, I explained that the office received complaints that 508 Beverage violated restrictions on their one-day liquor license for malt, wine and malt beverages on both April 22nd and May 7th. The request for one-day licenses were forwarded to the building commissioner, fire department, and police department. On recommendation of the police commissioner, the following restriction was voted by the board. No activity at any of the events listed will allow the use, operation of, and/or racing of engine-propelled on or off-road vehicles such as motorbikes, ATVs, and/or 2 or 4-wheel drive vehicles in a manner not associated with transportation of people to or from the site until the conditions of the planning board site plan approval decision letter dated August 12, 2015 are complied with, and the building inspector, zoning enforcement officer has issued at a minimum a temporary certificate of compliance for the project. Our office has been informed that the two of these special events allowed racing on the track, a clear violation of the license. Also, I have been contacted by the town of Sturbridge that the operators of 508 are using Ladd Road, which is prohibited in their site plan with the planning board. You did not address this issue in the special license, as the expectation was that they would comply with any planning board site plan restrictions. That was an incorrect assumption. I recommend that you revisit the license and add a prohibition of use on Ladd Road unless there is an emergency situation. The town of Sturbridge has had to provide police details for both of those events. You are to decide tonight what action you will take regarding the violations of the one-day license. There are 2 days left on the approved license, namely July 1st and 2nd.
Thank you. And yeah, we'll take this one step at a time, and we'll deal with the violation from our previous meeting. And going down the line, if we look under the second paragraph, we have those 5 items. We'll take that in that order. So we have asked the police and fire department to provide any reports for the incident. Just want to ask the chief to come up and just briefly speak on the, just a little more information on the intoxicated person.
Good evening. We did have one incident at the first event where a gentleman was found to be under the influence of alcohol, and we felt that he was unsafe. He was then put under protective custody and brought to the police station where someone did pick him up.
Right.
It's not an arrest situation. It's very different with alcohol.
Obviously, and this person wasn't driving.
Correct.
Is there any questions or comments for the police and fire?
I
Ms.
would just
Noble?
like to say something through the chair. While it does say on page 1 of this that the police department had one person put under protective custody for being intoxicated and received 2 complaints, that really isn't the complete answer. So I would like to read the email that I received on June 6th from Chief Charette, who was very kind to send this to me to clarify the situation. Yes, that is correct. We did place on man under protective custody, but that is not in capital letters an arrest. I would say that they are making every effort to do the proper thing on all fronts. When you say they, I assume you're referring to 508 International and the
Correct.
employees there. The first 2 events had about 500 to 600 people at each, and they went very well. The next few events were very quiet, with less than 100 people at each. I know that there will be some growing pains, but it seems to me that they are working very hard to be a good business. Respectfully, Dan Charette. That was the complete email message that I received.
Thank you. And now what I will do is conduct this, so we'll take each of these 5 items one at a time. So I will also open up to public comment, and I would please ask to, 1, state your name, 2, speak directly into the microphone, 3, keep your comments brief and to the point, 4, please keep it very respectful, and 5, to keep it on topic to the item that we're discussing. And with that, this is for the police and fire and anything involving emergency topics. Does anyone like to speak on that? Seeing none, thank you very much. We'll move on to the second one, which is the contacting the town planner. I know, Mr. McGrath, you reached out. If you want to give a brief presentation on that and what you've figured out.
I did. I guess the gist of the questions were on item 14 and 15, which were related to a noise study and then the noise abatement structure or testing area for when vehicles are going on the track. The town planner stated that because they're very technical issues, that the wording that is used by the sound engineers is what is put into the decision. So and that's why they're basically very hard to read for the average person. Basically, the first one was that they had to do a sound test to meet DEP standards, which they did, and they received a letter from the planning board stating that they completed it and that they passed, and that the planning board needed, and this is a little bit further from the decision, but that the planning board at that time needed an as-built plan for what they actually tested as, rather than what they had proposed. And the second item is for when they go into full business with a certificate of occupancy from the, or certificate of completion, I guess, from the building commissioner, that they have what is known as a pass-by sound testing area before the bikes are allowed on the track. And at the way, in layman's terms, there's a decibel meter there, and as they run by at full throttle, it has to pass the decibel meter. This will keep motorcycles or motor vehicles that are don't meet the attained reading off the track. So that's it.
Interesting. One question I had about Ladd Road.
Mm-hmm.
That was there was some confusion and some debate on whether or not emergency exit meant emergency exit. For instance, the main entrance, that is also an emergency exit that you can use. So what was the determination on the actual use of Ladd Road?
I'm going to defer to Mr. Jennings only because he was supposed to meet with the planning board, I believe, Russell, at their last meeting. It was on the plan that it was to be used as an emergency exit, or they had emergency exit on the plan.
Okay.
at that exit.
Mm-hmm.
But there was nothing in the conditions that were put forth, I believe, to say that. So, Russell, I guess.
Hold on.
I'm just, I
Ms.
have a
Craver?
question.
Before we go to Russell and what happened with the planning board, I just want to go back and reiterate the process that the board used, just as a point of order. So your request was to ask the building commissioner what his recommendations were, given that there was no site plan or occupancy. The building commissioner had not talked about that. In bringing this issue up, I just want to draw your attention to number 2, because the building commissioner has made that as a recommendation. He knows that I'm making a recommendation not to use Ladd Road again, and he's also recommending that that not be used, so.
And for that question, for the, would that super, would that,
I know what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
It would supersede any condition that the planning board put on.
Okay.
Because you're giving a permit for an actual event that's going on there, it would supersede anything that the planning board had set up as a condition, because you're giving a condition for specific events.
yep,
So what the planning board is doing with Ladd Road would be something different than what you've
Right,
done
so we would-
with the building
so we
commissioner
would
and the
possibly
site
put more,
plan review.
If I might,
Mr. Jennings?
just to simplify and clarify everything. What we can do is, we can say, with the remaining permits that we have out before your board, we will not exit by Ladd Road. You have to keep in mind that there's another residence, actually 2 other residences, also a business and other landowners on Ladd Road. So I can't be held 100% accountable for all traffic and any traffic on those roads, on that road. It's a public road. There's no way that, that I could be. And there's a super gray area where anybody can point the finger and say, that car's coming from 508.
So-
I think if you blocked it off and said that there's no entering or exiting, that would be simple enough. I don't think that residents would object to the regular local traffic.
Hold on, Ms. Noble, you had something you wanted to say?
I wasn't on the board when this all evolved and became a cohesive permit. So my question is actually about the use of the roads. I understand that Ladd Road is to be used in case of an emergency, but when I read it, it's missing a word. It doesn't say only. It doesn't say only in case of an emergency, and these words are extremely important. The other problem I have with it is, how do you police who uses a public road? Certainly you can put signs up that say, if you're leaving this particular establishment, please do not use Ladd Road as an entrance or an exit when people are coming and going. But it is a public road. And to place a burden on a business that, you know, you're telling them, sorry, you can't use that. How are they supposed to police that? So that, again, is my question. I just want to make sure that we're not overstepping here.
Mr. McGrath?
So I understand what Russ, what you're saying about, you know, Brent Salou has rights to go on the road, as do the people down at the other end and anybody visiting them or whatever. My thing is, at the first event, you had signs up that said exit down to pointing towards Ladd Road. So my guess is that if we don't have the exit signs up that way and we point them back up to Brookfield Road, we will make sure that the traffic goes in that direction. Now, I know there's other concern, you know, other things that you're waiting to do to widen the road, the road coming in and out. I know you have some concerns there. But, you know, just out of curiosity, how did the discussion go with the planning board?
Again, that was, that is a discussion that the planning board does not, I can't speak for the planning board, and I can't go to the planning board and say, what's your thoughts on this? Because there's no There's really no place for that in my discussion with the planning board. What I'm offering with your board is to say, the permits before your board that I have permitted at this time, I will, as you just said, not direct traffic down there. I will encourage traffic going out the other way. Our security people will direct traffic back to Brookfield Road. That is only for the events permitted before your board, because I firmly believe it is my right as a property owner who owns property on Ladd Road, on Bond Sawmill Road, to direct traffic onto that public road, no different than any other resident. And I'm not looking to convolute your permit or your discussion with that discussion, because that in itself is not, this is not the forum for that. The planning board possibly is, land court, mass highway, totally different subject matter. So we can put our opinions here as audiences, but.
Mr. McGrath?
And the only reason I ask is I thought that you were supposed to, when I talked with the town planner, I thought the next time that you were in to talk to him about the progress that was going on, that they were going to bring it up. So what I will do is I will contact the town planner again and see what their, because what he was going to do is he was going to go back through the minutes in the tapes of the hearings and see what was said, and that's what he was going to base his decision on. So what I'll do is I will follow up with that, and I'll bring it back to our next meeting, okay, as to what the town planner is saying.
Sure. And on that front as well, just as a point of correction, in the letter that Robin wrote, read from the town of Sturbridge, the town of Sturbridge did not pay for the detail on Ladd Road. 508 International did, just as a point of order, and I can naturally provide you with the
I think I said
receipts from that.
provided, but not paid. I
Okay,
didn't say paid.
just for clarification,
They
I
did
think some
provide
people
the
thought that
details.
Sturbridge provided that detail, and it's no different than the ones requested from Charlton that we pay for.
I see some eager public here, so if you want to come forward, please come forward if you want to speak on this matter. This is concerning Planning Board and Ladd Road. Ma'am, I ask you to please state your name and address into the microphone and speak right into it, please.
Hello. Thanks for a chance to say something
Yep,
about
please state your
this.
name and.
My name is Pat Barnacle. I live at 7 Ladd Road in Sturbridge. And just a comment, in no way would we think that Ladd Road couldn't be used by other residents of Ladd Road or a business that is on Ladd Road. But we're talking hundreds of cars, hundreds of vehicles. We have a video, actually, of the day. It was so crazy. And the people in the detail were getting out and stopping traffic on Route 49. Car carriers that are going 70 miles an hour down Route 49 were being stopped by police. And someone is going to get really badly hurt. And that's our biggest worry about that whole thing. It's not a few cars. It's not a business. It's 500 to 600 cars, no kidding. And exit signs were on Ladd Road. We do have pictures of all of those. Thank you.
So
Thank you, Ms.
for
Barnacle.
just for tonight's hearing, right now we're talking about the violation in the current liquor licenses. We'll also move forward with the public hearing for the live entertainment later on, which will probably be, this item will be brought up again. I'm sorry, Ms. Craver?
I just wanted to let you know that Kurt Meskis, our building commissioner, who made the recommendation on the second part,
Yep.
is here too.
So I would say we'll just wait for that, and we'll kind of take that one step at a time. So right now, we're still talking about the planning conditions in Ladd Road for the current special liquor licenses and the past violations. Is there any more discussion on this topic? Sir, please state your name for the record and address.
Bob Brunel, Brookfield Road in Charlton. In reference to how it's policed as far as who uses that road or not, I've seen it somewhere, I can't recall where it is, but there is a stipulation that there has to be a gated lock and that the key access to the lock, I believe, goes to the fire department in case they need it to bring in emergency vehicles or to bring, let emergency vehicles out. So I don't have it. I looked through all my records here, but I'll see if I can find that document, and I'll email it to you.
Through the chair.
Mr. McGrath, thank
And
you.
I'll bring that up with the town planner also.
Is there any more discussion on this topic? Seeing none, we'll move on to the.
Just
Sir?
for the record, the traffic is not a violation of the liquor license permit? Correct?
Yes, I
Okay.
believe if there's no objection, that's currently not stated on the permit.
I have just asked and recommended that they add it to the liquor license.
See
Last.
here, the conditions, see if the conditions for the site are online, and they are. So that seems like that's pretty taken care of. 5, any comments, concerns? Once again, I want to thank everyone for writing in and sharing their concerns. So it kind of opens up to the larger, if anyone wants to talk about the larger issue of the special liquor license and the violations, alleged violations. Seeing none,
Yeah,
Mr. Brunel?
this is probably an appropriate time to talk about it. This is primarily about the site plan review process and the
So I will, I do appreciate that. This is not, this is something we can bring up during the public hearing. The next part, just, I want to get through the special liquor license part.
Well, this pertains to the liquor license.
How so?
Well, let me finish, please. The planning board review process ensures that local and state site plan development rules, regulations, and laws are followed. This is accomplished in part by reviewing the applicant's required engineering plans. These plans ensure that the site plan codes comply with all safety issues and they're adequately addressed. The planning board, which consists of appointed elected members, review the applicant's site plan and engineering plans and issue a decision. That decision for this plan was August 13th, 2015. Given that, the board denied approval of a list of 50 proposed activities within the site plan permit, as none of these facilities, infrastructure, or locations for said uses are designed with the site plan sheets prepared by Burton Engineering. The planning board director was asked in an email communication on 6/1/17, question 1. 50 proposed events were denied in the approved site plan. This means that only the activity that can take place is motocross racing without a new or revised site plan design. Is that correct? His answer was, that is correct. The planning board approved a motocross facility and denied a listing of other events that you referred to. So why are denied events being allowed through the liquor license permit process? It seems clear that only motocross races are allowed, and only then, after required restrictions and conditions are met and a permit to operate is issued. If the permit is approved, who will be held responsible for an accident? This is a liquor license permit.
So just to interject real quick, the liquor license permit only deals with the allowing him to serve
Yeah,
liquor.
but there's a last paragraph. If the permit is approved, who will be held responsible for an accident which leads to a lawsuit against the town? For example, a faulty structure that collapses, off-road vehicles running into bystanders, or a rider injury, when effectively the site plan says it's not allowed and you're allowing a permit
So the
Those
permit, we're
activities.
not permitting any activities. We're saying that you can serve alcohol following these conditions. So I imagine any issues with that would be on the owner, if I'm not mistaken, but I'm not a lawyer.
So,
Mr. McGrath?
Mr. Brunel, the site plan does not pertain to any alcohol or anything of that nature. Those are permits that are given out by this board with the conditions that this board puts on them. That's how they apply for a license. That's how we make sure that they have the insurance that they're supposed to have. That's how we make sure that they have the tip certified people that they need to have. And that's also how we make sure that the police and the fire chief have input. The site plan has nothing to do with alcoholic beverages. It has nothing to do with anything, any permits that this board gives out. That's at the discretion of this board. That's why that's why the violation is here for the liquor license violation.
Because one of our stated conditions was violated, and that's what we're talking about right now, of the operations of unauthorized motor vehicles on the track.
So you're saying that any activity that goes on there is good, as far as you're concerned?
We didn't say that.
We did not say that.
No one said that.
We did not say that. We go by the planning board and the building commissioner's recommendations. So if you're looking at the entertainment permit, Bob, is that what?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, that's
So
the
that's
next
the next
hearing.
item.
So we're dealing with that next. It's not bundled up in this, but thank you. And I didn't mean to cut you short before when I said, you know, the site plan. That's why I said, what I was trying to say is that the liquor permit is a totally different thing than the site plan.
Which we'll be getting to momentarily. So is there any more discussion on the liquor license from the public? I imagine, does the board have any, would like to take any actions on this item?
I think we have to,
Of course.
through the chair.
Ms. Noble?
I think we have to take action. We put this off last time because we wanted the full board here. Unfortunately, that didn't happen this week. But we have to take action on it. I want it to be fair and equitable. I want it to be just. Russ, last time I talked to you, I said, did you do this? And you said yes. That happened to refer to the operation of the motor vehicles on the track, the motocross, the bikes, whatever you were using. Clearly, that violated the terms of the liquor license. Would you agree?
I do.
Okay. Thank you for that. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate your honesty, and I don't want to put unnecessary burdens on a business. However, because you did violate the terms of the liquor license, I do, in all honesty, believe that there has to be some sort of repercussion for it. Would you agree with that as well?
I would most certainly expect that you would treat us as any other business. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yes.
So, through the chair.
Mr. McGrath?
Let's treat this as we normally treat something of this nature when we've had liquor violations with people. And this is a little bit different, but we've had stores who have sold underage alcohol sales and stuff.
Multiple times.
And I think in those cases, the first offense is always a warning. We've done no more and no less for anybody else in the business for what I consider an even more egregious issue. So that's my suggestion.
May I ask a question?
Yes, Ms. Noble?
Because I haven't been involved in a situation like this before, and you have, what are the normal steps taken? You said there's a warning given, and so Mr. Jennings knows what would be the additional repercussions for egregious actions.
Suspensions of license and future licenses for periods of time,
Okay,
on a case-by-case basis, obviously.
okay. Now, it's my understanding that that any business can have a total of 30 of these permits
Per year?
per year. Not 30 total, just 30 per year, calendar year.
I'm not sure the exact number. I think it might be a little higher than that.
I don't have that number off the
Yeah,
top of my head.
it's some number.
Okay,
But there is a maximum for a special liquor license.
okay.
I would recommend, I would make a motion then, if anyone else would
Okay.
make one?
I'll make one.
Okay, Mr. McGrath?
Through the chair, I
Mr.
make a
McGrath.
motion that we send a written letter of warning to 508 Beverage LLC that the violations that they had on the aforementioned dates are unacceptable, and that if we continue to have problems there will be harsher repercussions.
Thank you. We have a motion? Do we have a second?
I second it.
Motion is second. Any discussion? In that, I would like to see, laid out exactly what the violations were, dates and times.
Please.
And
We'll,
whatnot.
we'll check to see if you actually have a policy that you follow, or if you take each incident one by one. If there's a policy, we'll
Mhm.
include the policy in the letter.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Sir, please come up to the microphone, speak directly into the microphone, state your name and address.
My name is David Varnicle. I live at 7 Lad Road. The only objection I have,
Make sure you speak right into the mic.
the only objection I have to the motion that you put on the floor is that there was more than one violation. There was a violation, and then you all couldn't meet in order to take charge of the violation and issue some sort of restraint on the applicant, and therefore he did exactly the same thing a second time.
Mr. Jennings?
That statement's absolutely untrue. I'm sure that Robin Craver can tell you that as soon as we were notified by the board, we came in, we stayed at the meeting. It was late that evening. We talked with Robin, we said we'd hang around until the end of the meeting. We did. I came up, I talked to the board for maybe 2 minutes. I stated that there would be no off-highway vehicle activity at the site moving forward, and there has not been. And there has not been any events scheduled that pertain to that from that conversation moving forward. So it's very easy. It's very easy to look at the tape and look at the statement and back up the conversation with Robin and figure that out. So.
If I can just clarify, if
Ms.
you're
Craver?
talking about the 2 violations, there was no notification in between the first and the second one. I only became aware of it after the second time that it happened, and once he was notified, it's my understanding that there were no more.
Right, but that's my whole problem. There was a violation, it was not taken care of, there was a second violation. So I was correct, but you all weren't able to act on it, so I feel that now your proper action would be to jump over the warning, because the warning was given back in April. This is June.
So, Mr. Barco, thank you for your point, but I would say in this case, no action was taken because we didn't know about that until the second violation. And in our order of operations and the way we proceed through warnings and discipline, that we issue warning before skipping to any harsher decisions.
With all due respect, Mr. Chairman, you did just indicate that it was the second violation. That's my point.
Right, but not after a warning. There was
Right.
no warning.
There was no warning
There was
after
no
the
warning.
first one.
Okay, there was no official warning from the board.
There was no warning
No
or, there was no communication. It was only brought to our attention after the second
So it's on you.
incident.
It's not on Mr. Jennings.
It's always on us.
Buck stops here.
It's always on us, trust me. Thank you for your comments, though.
Lad Road? As part of the liquor, we've requested to make a motion to
Speak right into the mic,
amend.
Ms. Greer.
We've made a recommendation to amend the liquor license to include
Yes.
no use, and I would suggest you could use the language on number 6 for the number 2.
number 6 to number 2.
Yeah, I see what you're
So,
talking
yeah, so page 3, so there's discussion about using condition number 6 on page 3 in our packet, that Lad Road access is restricted to use by municipal emergency vehicles or mutual aid summoned to the location. Further, unless emergency services or law enforcement agencies direct, all other vehicular traffic is not allowed to enter or exit the venue using Lad Road. So I'd say let's take care of this motion, which is about a warning letter, and then we can take care of any amending any future licenses. Ma'am?
Through the chair.
Hold on. Oh, sorry.
Oh, you didn't take that?
No, this is just issuing the letter of warning. Then we can go on to talking about further the other few remaining licenses. Ma'am?
Hi, Sandra Curran, 1 Sydney Road, Circle, in Charlton. I'm terribly disappointed at all of you and Russ. I came here in April. I'm a new resident, and I was never warned about the motocross, first of all, when we bought our house. And you people stood there and said there'd be no violations. He has insurance. I was concerned about the alcohol and children being on premises. None of that's going to be happening. You people are standing there, and you're letting it go. I'm real disappointed, really. You're supposed to be honorable people to take action and show things from my heart. I'm really disappointed.
Thank you.
Through
Sir?
the chair, addressing your motion on use of Lad Road.
There's no motion for Lad Road. Right now, we're talking about issuing a letter of warning.
Oh,
Thought
okay.
they'd already
I'm sorry.
voted, but they didn't
No,
vote yet.
no, there's
Okay.
no discussion on that.
Okay.
All right, seeing no further discussion, move to a vote on a motion. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion passes. We'll now take up any action on the future licenses, which I believe there are 4 more dates and 2 more events.
Through the chair.
Mr. McGrath?
I make a motion that we amend the liquor licenses for the 4 more dates to include Lad Road access is restricted to use by municipal emergency vehicles or mutual aid summoned to the location. Further, unless emergency services or law enforcement agencies direct, all other vehicular traffic is not allowed to enter or exit the venue using Lad Road.
Thank you. Is there a second? The chair will second that motion. We'll move to a discussion.
Through the chair.
Ms. Noble?
Regarding the use of Lad Road, I would like to know, going forward, where the burden is placed regarding the use or non-use of that road. Who bears that responsibility? Who determines whether or not the vehicle on that road is indeed authorized? It's too vague for me.
Mr. McGrath?
Through the chair. I'm getting a little upset with the semantics. Russ, I'm very disappointed, okay? This is all semantics. If I was sitting on the planning board when you brought this forward.
Mr. McGrath, I would please ask you to take a breath and to make all comments respectful.
These are respectful comments. This is all semantics. If you came to me when I was on the planning board with a plan that said on it, Lad Road is to be used only for emergency use or whatever you had on the plan, okay, that's what you'd be held to. And this is semantics right now. I'm not happy about it, Russ. I'm telling you. It's not the way we do business. It's not the way we do, you know, you and I have had this discussion before. The main entrance for your proposed project was supposed to be Brookfield Road. Lad Road was going to be for emergency vehicles, and that was it. And Alan's going to go through the minutes of the meeting, and he's going to find that, okay? And if it's on the tape, but I'm not happy. This
Through the chair.
Mr. Jennings?
Through the chair. To address that comment, John, the whole discussion and how Lad Road, Bond Sawmill Road, actually got to be discussed at the planning board was through a request of Mr. Barnacle to verify whether or not the crossing on Bond Sawmill Road, which is Brent Salou's driveway, as well as the access to other property that my family own on Bond Sawmill Road. I own other pieces of property that the address is Bond Sawmill Road. We have every right to use that. That came up, and it's on tape, where I specifically said, we are not going to give up our right to use Ladd Road or Bon Sawmill Road, because once we do, it's gone. And
So,
Mr.
Russ,
McGrath?
I understand what you're saying, that you don't want to give up the use of the road. And we were down this when I remember your father wanted to put a house lot on there, and, you know, this goes back way back. So I'm very familiar with it.
Yep.
And I know you don't want to give up your use of Bon Sawmill Road or Ladd Road. But for an event, that is what I consider the non-use of Ladd Road. Nobody here is trying to take away your use of Ladd Road for any other parcel of property that you own down there, okay? That would be the access to get to that property or to properly use that property, you know, going down the road to future use of the property. But for an event, it's
So, Mr. McGrath,
it's not to use Ladd Road during an event.
Mr. McGrath, just to clarify, the motion that was made to amend this did not specify events. Well, this is still for the liquor licenses. So for future ones, for future events for the entertainment license, that would probably be more appropriate there. But I'll let Mr. Jennings respond.
And I'm willing to say, on the events that we have before your board, absolutely. July 1st and 2nd, and the other, I'm sorry.
I think it is just.
I think it's just July 1st and 2nd.
1st and 2nd.
So
You guys had said
if you have no
I
objections
couldn't
with that, I would ask that we take care of that, and then we can move on to the public hearing
I have
for
zero
the
objection.
entertainment license.
Zero objection.
Okay.
Well, through the chair, and I'm sorry to the Barnacles, they are two houses on Ladd Road that we do not own. Then there's two other houses that exit and enter on Ladd Road, along with a lot of other property. Now, our thought behind sending the traffic out there is we affect two houses on Ladd Road. If we send it out onto Brookfield Road, we affect 200. So would you, in your traffic directionality of things, affect two houses or 200? Now,
Mr. McGrath?
Russ,
sure.
on your traffic study plan,
Yep.
what was stated for the traffic study? Was all the traffic from the venue going out to Brookfield Road?
At that point in time, it was,
Okay,
yes.
so
Yep.
thank you, you answered my question.
Yep.
That's all I need to know.
And
And
I'll save any, oh, yep, sir.
we also did a study and submitted the results for the intersection of Ladd Road and Route 49 to prove the site distance so that that would be an acceptable entrance and exit as well, even though in our overall business, we still list entrance to the facility as 219 Brookfield Road. That's not necessarily the shortest way. If we were to put off Ladd Road, that would be. But in our plans, we did do 219 Brookfield Road.
So is there any further discussion on amending the next two special liquor licenses for July 1st and July 2nd? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Chair votes aye, motion passes 2-1. Is there any other discussion on the special liquor license stipulations or violations? Seeing none, we'll move on to item number 2 under this. This is the public hearing for the live entertainment request. And I'll begin that by reading the public hearing notice. The Charlton Board of Selectmen will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, June 13th, 2017, at 7:15 p.m. at the Charlton Town Hall, 37 Main Street, Charlton, Mass., to act on a request by 508 Base LLC for a live entertainment license, parentheses bands, to be used on July 1st and July 2nd from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. at 215 Brookfield Road. Anyone interested should appear at the date and time specified with submitting concerns in writing. And I'll declare that public hearing open at 8:01 p.m. So for this one, this is just for that one date. Correct, Ms. Graver?
2 dates, I think.
2 days.
2
Yes.
two dates, one event, 2 dates.
Mr. Meskis has made some recommendations, if you'd like to.
Yeah, Ms. Graver, if you would like to actually read,
Okay, I
we have there?
read.
Yeah, we have a memo, let's use it.
Cue that up, okay. So attached is a request from 508 BoS LLC for live entertainment license to be used on July 1st and 2nd from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. This request was forwarded to the Police Department, Fire Department, and Building Commissioner for review. Police Chief Charette has stated that if the license is granted, he would like notice 1 week prior to the event what the pre-event ticket sales total. Fire Chief Cloutier stated that the fire department would require 1 firefighter per 1,000 persons in attendance for the event. They would also require 2 EMTs per 1,000 as well. The persons in attendance would include workers on the premises, including but not limited to 508 LLC personnel, vendors, participants in the event, and guests. Building Commissioner Meskis has reviewed the application and supplemental materials. The drawing supplied by the applicant shows 2 stages. As shown on the attached map, the closest residence is approximately 1,500 feet from the stage and is owned by the project investors. The next closest residence is a bit over 3,000 feet away, and the majority of the homes are over 4,000 feet away from the indicated stage locations. Mr. Meskis states that with the special liquor license in place for July 1st and 2nd, they have permits for 2 temporary tents valid until July 14th. Site work on the project has continued with inspection by the Planning Board consulting engineer. When Mr. Meskis last spoke with the town planner, Alan Gordon, on June 7th, he indicated that Mike Andrade, the consultant engineer, reported considerable progress on the site. In addition, revised plans for the field changes has been submitted and would be reviewed. Mr. Meskis stated that, to his knowledge, the superseding order of conditions from the Mass DEP has not been issued for the work on the property. As zoning enforcement officer, he received a request for enforcement action on June 5th, which is attached, based on the use of the property for alleged violations by the conducting of activities outside of the approved motocross track and associated racing. The request for enforcement is currently under review, and a request was made to the appellant for additional evidence in a record-preserved format for the files. At this time, he has not made any decision relative to the request, and his mentioning it is just to keep the Board of Selectmen informed of issues related to the property. He would cautiously recommend the Board of Selectmen approve the license after considering and with the following conditions. 1, the Board of Health be consulted for any regulations and requirements relating to the provision of sanitary facilities for the events. 2, before a stage, light towers, speaker towers, stage covering, canopy, or the like be erected, the building commissioner be shown the plans for and consulted on the erection of the same, and any necessary building permits be obtained. 3, no activities at any of the events listed, including the use of operation of racing or of engine-propelled on or off-road vehicles such as motorbikes, ATVs, 2- or 4-wheel drive vehicles in a manner not associated with transportation of people to and from the site, will be allowed until the conditions of the Planning Board site plan approval decision letter dated August 12th, 2015 are complied with, and the building commissioner has issued, at minimum, a temporary certificate of compliance for the project. 4, no parking is allowed on Brookfield Road. 5, the enclosures will be constructed of wire fencing, a minimum of 36 inches tall, with post space not more than 10 feet on center. And lastly, Ladd Road access is restricted to use by municipal emergency vehicles or municipal aid summoned to the location. Further, unless emergency services or law enforcement agencies direct, all other vehicle traffic is not allowed to enter or exit the venue using Ladd Road. And the chairman should open the public hearing by reading the notice.
Yep, and the hearing has already been opened. I will just comment that what we're talking about now is for this one entertainment license for July 1st and July 2nd, as requested. I would ask that any discussion be limited to what is at hand. And I'll open up to whomever would like to speak to talk about this issue.
Through the chair.
Yes, Ms. Noble.
Mr. Jennings, I've had a production company for many, many years now. I'm very used to putting on live events. I'd like to know what are the entertainment acts that will be performing? How many stages, who's doing the sound, what is the lighting? Can you give me more specifics?
Sure, I could give you all those details.
Thank you.
Actually, I can tell you who some of the bands are.
Thank you.
They're actually all tribute bands. So Tom Petty, Stevie Nicks, and then we're having a Battle of the Bands format for the rest of the 2 days.
Approximately how many acts will be performing over the course of 2 days?
We would hope that there's 12.
Okay. Will they be driving large tour buses? How much equipment will they have? Will you be
No.
bringing in stage materials, staging materials, lighting, sound equipment?
No, none, very, very small production, sound equipment, geared to the 300-400 person audience.
Will the bands be providing their own amplifiers and speakers and monitors, or will you have a production company come in and do that?
The two bands, the cover bands,
Mhm.
the Tom Petty and the Stevie Nicks cover bands, they're actually doing the sound as well.
Okay.
So
I'd like
they're
to know,
providing
I'd
that
like to
all.
know,
I could get you all the specifications on
That would be good.
everything directly from them so that,
Mhm.
I'm not a sound guy myself,
okay.
so.
What about lighting?
No lighting, it's just during the day,
Okay,
11 to 7.
okay.
Mr. McGrath?
Through the chair. Russ, you said you expect 300 to 400 people for both days?
Those are on the different stages, and maybe 500 a day max. It is Tom Petty and Stevie Nicks, but not
Through
the
the
real
chair.
I mean, if
ones.
it wasn't the real Tom Petty,
So-
Stevie Nicks, it might be, multiply that by 10 or 100.
That would be a big boon for the town if you got them to come here. Will you be
Someday.
limiting ticket sales?
No,
Would that be something you would consider?
no.
Okay,
I think we would fall under the parameters of what the police and fire recommended, based off our pre-sold tickets, and go with those numbers.
Obviously, you will have the requisite number of EMTs and details, correct?
Absolutely.
what is the capacity of your facility?
Per the fire code,
Mm-hmm,
85,000.
okay, thank you for that.
Ms. Craver, did we receive any concerns in writing in regards to this public hearing? And besides the,
I think some of them were combined,
right,
not in particular on this portion, but combined with the violation.
right. Ms. Meskis, do you have something you'd like to say?
Kurt Meskis, Building Commissioner.
Make sure you speak right into the mic.
Yeah, just like to say that item number 5, which does not seem to make any sense on this, is a carryover from my previous recommendation, and it had to do with the fencing around the beer garden. So, as I was generating this Friday afternoon and people proved it for me, we didn't connect the dots. So that's why that condition doesn't seem to make any
So
sense.
through the chair.
Hold
So
on.
would you like to add for the beer garden at the end of the sentence?
That's covered under your liquor license that you've already issued, so it's redundant.
Yes, Mr. McGrath.
Kurt, should we strike item number 5?
I would, if I may,
Go
I
ahead.
would recommend that you have on both licenses, because he may come in for an entertainment license, and really you're setting up a template to be able to use also.
Okay.
So,
Um,
but actually, since that's just beer, you're right, you don't need.
Yeah, so I
Right,
would.
I mean, what are
right.
we enclosing?
Right, so if they
Yeah.
wanted to serve alcohol, they would just use the previous one, which includes that note. Thank you for that clarification.
You're welcome.
So we'll strike 5.
Yeah, there's still no motion yet.
Okay.
The public hearing is still open. If anyone wants to discuss the matter at hand, please come forward. Mr. Brunel?
Bob Brunel, Brookfield Road, Charlton. I'd just like you to explain, help us understand this process here, because we have a planning board that has disapproved these 50 items in writing that cannot be done, and one on the list down here, outdoor concert stage. So you're going to override that. You're going to allow them to bring in this activity against the site plan review decision letter.
Mr. McGrath, would you like to address that?
Through the chair, I'd like to ask Mr. Meskis to come up and just discuss this, because I'm sure that he has talked with the town planner about this.
Thank you, Ms. Meskis, for coming up again.
Sorry, Kurt.
What was your question, Mr. McGrath?
My question is, Mr. Brunel is saying that this is one of the 50 items that the planning board disapproved at their site plan review.
So, Mr. Brunel met with myself and Amy Stanley couple weeks ago, asked me a bunch of questions, presented me with that list of 50 things. My view of this is that site plan review deals with permanent operations, and that this is an operation that is being granted by the Board of Selectmen on a temporary basis, such as other things that the Board of Selectmen grant for. The Board of Selectmen allows Old Home Day to happen. That is not covered by site plan review. It includes the closure of town roads. It allows the fire department from time to time to hold events on Power Station Road. It allows fill the boot drives. All of these things are not covered by site plan review, but they're temporary activities that are being sanctioned under conditions that this board sets based on our recommendations for limited time operations. As an example, if a carnival for an event or a carnival event was to come to town and wanted to set up on a vacant lot, we have no specific event permit, but we have these permits that allow certain things to happen with your blessing, with conditions set upon them. So my conclusion is because it is a temporary event that is being sanctioned and permitted by the Board of Selectmen, that it doesn't in this case have to comply with the site plan review.
May I ask, do you
Ms.
believe
Graber?
that that would be different once the site plan is approved? What would the process be then? Once they're an established business?
Once they're an established business, if it was a temporary occasional event, I don't think it would have to go to the planning board. If it was a permanent stage, if it was occurring at regular intervals, but that's a question that needs, because we haven't dealt with the venue such as this is part of the growing process of this, is to figure out how this is done. If they want to make permanent modifications or have events without special permitting from this board, definitely it needs approval of the planning board because it would be a change of conditions on the site.
Thank you, Kurt.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Sir?
Yeah, I'd just like to question Mr. Meskis' logic in his examples that he used. All the examples that he used is a temporary event that doesn't have a site plan review. We're talking about, we have a site plan review. And to ignore it would be a mockery of the site plan review process.
So the site plan review, if I'm not mistaken, is for permanent operations. For instance, for the Power Station Road fire events, usually you don't have people have a festival in the street. That's not typically done, correct? And that's a one-time use.
But you don't have a
So
document,
it's-
excuse me, but you don't have a document by a state-recognized board, the planning board, that says you will do this, this, this as part of the conditions, and you will not do these things. So I think you're opening yourself up to some potential liability problems.
Sir, could you clarify?
Excuse me?
Could you clarify?
What if an accident happens?
Then it's on the owner of the event.
Well, you say that, but they're operating now, they being 508 International, and they don't have a complete approval to operate in full. So they're operating on a temporary basis, and under that temporary basis, they have all these restrictions that they cannot do. You override that, and somebody gets hurt, they can bring a lawsuit. Now, I don't know whether the lawsuit will be to the town, be to the Board of Selectmen, who it is, but they would have a strong case bringing it to whoever, because a site plan review restricts these activities. That's all I have to say on the subject. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you. Is there any more discussion? This is the last chance to speak for the public hearing for the live entertainment request. Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
Through the chair.
Mr. McGrath?
I make a motion that we close the public hearing.
Second.
Thank you. A motion and second to close the public hearing. Any discussion on the motion?
Through the chair.
Seeing none, we'll move to, sorry, Mr. McGrath?
I make a motion that we,
Oh.
go ahead.
So we motion second to close the public hearing. Seeing no further discussion, move to a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion passes. The public hearing is now closed at 8:18 PM.
Through the chair.
Mr. McGrath?
I make a motion that we permit 508 BASE LLC a live entertainment license to be used on July 1st and 2nd, 2017, from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m., with the stipulations that, 1, the Board of Health be consulted for any regulations and requirements relating to the provision of sanitary facilities for the events. 2, before a stage, light tower, speaker tower, stage covering, canopy, or the like be erected, the building commissioner be shown plans for and consulted on the erection of same and any necessary building permit to be obtained. 3, no activity at any of the events listed, including the use, operating of, racing of engines, propelled on or off-road vehicles such as motorbikes, ATVs, 2 or 4-wheel drive vehicles, in a manner not associated with the transportation of people to or from the site, will be allowed until the conditions of the planning board site plan approval decision letter dated August 12, 2015 are complied with, and the building inspector/ZEO has written at a minimum a temporary certificate of compliance for the project. 4, no parking is allowed on Brookfield Road. 5, Ladd Road access is restricted to use by municipal emergency vehicles or mutual aid summoned to the location. Further, unless emergency services or law enforcement agencies direct, all other vehicular traffic is not allowed to enter or exit the venue using Ladd Road.
Thank you. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and second. Discussion. I would like to see, if this does pass after the event, to report back, Ms. Graver, from the CFA, see what happened at the event.
After the first and second.
After the first and second.
The 18th. From the two chiefs and the building commission?
Correct.
Please.
Is there any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 Chair votes aye, motion passes. Thank you. I appreciate everyone coming out tonight, sharing their perspectives and opinions, and I wish you all a good night.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
We will now move on to item number 6 under new business, the end-of-year budget transfer requests on page 102. Ms. Craver?
Yes, sir. As you know, the Municipal Modernization Act allows departments to transfer monies from one account to another with their budget, with the approval of the Board of Selectmen and Finance Committee. Attached are the requests from the Recreation Commission, Tree Warden, Council on Aging, Town Administrator, Human Resources, and we also received one today from the Municipal Building Committee. Also attached is a reserve fund transfer from the Fire Department. I would recommend the board approve the request. The Finance Committee is meeting tomorrow night, and I will ask them to review and approve as well. So, If I may, Mr. Chair, I'll go through.
Please.
So the board and committee is the recreation. So I'm going to talk about which department is making the request, which account it goes to, which account it's coming from, the purpose, and the amount. So the Recreation Commission has made a request. The money will be going to the recreation field maintenance from the recreation expense. The purpose is for the mowing contract in the amount of $8.86. Tree warden, to the tree removal account from the municipal gas and diesel. This is for tree cutting overlap, and it's in the amount of $10,000. Council on Aging, to Council on Aging staff salaries from contract obligations due to personnel retirement, $421. Town administrator's salary, contract obligations to cover the approved raise, $2,418. Human Resources, Medicare, to Medicare Health with insurance. The purpose is to fund FY17 in the amount of $10,000. And the last one, Municipal Building Committee, North Wing, air conditioning. It's an internet connection from the internet connection account that we have. The purpose is wiring, and that is $3,860.40, and that was due to prevailing wage.
And that's new from on our packet.
Correct. And the reserve fund transfer, you do not need to take any action. I'm just letting you know about it. Thank you.
And what was that reserve fund transfer for? Again, the 8,000?
$8,550.
For the reason?
And that is in your packet, so let me just go down to see.
Just curious. Oh, that's the firefighter uniforms.
Yes.
Okay. Noted. What are the wishes of the board then?
Through the chair.
Ms. Noble?
I would make a motion that we accept these transfers of funds.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, I'll move to a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Chair votes aye, motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
We will hold on item number 7 for Mr. Singer, since that's his item. We will then move on to old business. The only item is the selectmen appointments to committees. Ms. Craver?
Yes, sir. At your last meeting, you asked that we compile a list of what committees each selectman is on. Attached is that list. We have removed Mrs. Cooper's name from the list. We've been contacted by the Fay Mountain Farm Committee, who is asking for 2 active members of the Board of Selectmen that can attend their meetings, which are held about every 2 months, once every 2 months. In the past, Mrs. Cooper often was able to attend the meetings. They have been trying to have meetings, but end up without a quorum. This committee is appointed by the Conservation Commission, but required 2 selectmen. Selectman Swenson's schedule has not allowed him to attend the meetings, and he has stated he has no problem if another selectman wanted to be a part of it. Deb Noble has been appointed as a member, so there is need for 1 more. As some of the board's schedules may have changed, we would ask you to review the list and recommend members that will be able to attend meetings. How does your board wish to proceed?
Thank you, Ms. Craver. So attached is the sheet of the current commitments, and I thank you for rotating it in the correct way this time. I remember last time it was I had to crane your neck to see what's going on. One thing I want to note, the police chief search committee on here has David and myself. I believe that's David and John.
Correct.
I know we've had a chance to review this. One thing, because of my new job, I can't make the municipal building committee meetings in the morning, so I would ask that that another selectman would step up for that.
I'm on already.
Yeah. I do love that committee, and I do love being a part of that, and being a civil engineer, it's very exciting. But
Stay on it, and I'll fill you in.
The issue is getting
Quorums.
a quorum.
Getting a quorum.
So perhaps we could even take a look, I mean, you could appoint someone that's not a selectman, but it's a selectman's appointment too. So
Okay.
if you have other people that might be interested.
All right.
And I believe the Conservation Commission will be looking at the membership makeup of the Fay Mountain Farm Committee in order to determine if they actually need 2 selectmen on the committee, or if that position can be offered to another member at large.
Hmm.
And it would be just a selectman's appointment.
Right. That way they'll, there's less of a risk of them not having a quorum.
One thing I've noticed, or it's just that's what happens at the municipal building committees. We always have a representative from the finance committee there, but not as a voting member.
Mainly just because the chair likes to be on top of that, but there's never been an official
Would we want
appointment.
to? Oh, Mr.
And-
Meskis,
He can't be.
you can't be. Okay, fair enough. I just thought I put that out there.
Because he holds the purse strings?
Right, so
Oh,
he's been showing up just so he understands and has the ground level.
And to
words
provide
idea.
input, yes,
And
right.
that's, great, because he has a lot of good input.
He does.
Jerry's very good.
But that, that's correct, that the finance committee members can't hold any other positions, so includes ad hocs.
Through the chair.
Mr. McGrath?
I would just like to point out that this was one more committee that Mr. Peter Cooper was part of.
Yeah. Oof.
Yes. So, if you'd like, we can hold that, and if selectmen want to give us information, now that you've got the list, if you'd
Mhm.
like to give us information, if you'd like to be removed,
Mm-hmm.
or if you're interested in one, let us know, and we can recompile this and send it back out to you.
Absolutely.
How's that?
Police negotiation committee,
We're
should we
not-
fill that?
We're not, I don't think we've started those yet.
No.
It's for next year, so
Is it already out for next year?
I don't think so.
Because highways this year, right?
Highway.
Okay. So, also clerical, I thought that was Rick.
He is on it. She might be going by the minutes when this was put together, so let me take a look and make sure these aren't some of the old ones, so we'll take a look at that. I think he was on it.
Okay. Does any other member of the board have any interests or requests?
I would be interested in being on the negotiations clerical committee,
Okay.
if a spot becomes available.
Okay, absolutely. We can ask Rick if he wants to continue that as well. I'm staying on it.
Because it's fun.
It's fun. I do love negotiating, but of course it's always up to the board. Anyways, so if there's no other action,
No?
Talk about again next meeting, I guess.
absolutely.
Okay. So
Right.
if you can just let Mary know, she'll be compiled.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
But yeah, no, if you want to ask Rick if he, Mr. Swenson, if he wants to continue that.
We'll make sure Mr. Singer and Mr. Swenson have an opportunity to take a look at this and give feedback.
Yep, absolutely.
Well, I'll send emails to you.
Yep,
Okay.
as we always do.
Only directly to me, though, not to each other.
Yep.
Okay.
No reply all.
That-
All right. So, any committee reports? All right. We'll then move on to the town administrator's report. Ms. Craver?
Workshop on green infrastructure and drought resilience. I'll be attending, I've been invited to attend the EPA FEMA workshop on green infrastructure and drought resilience on June 26th. The primary goal of this meeting is to provide Massachusetts with options for ways to become more resilient to drought, which could then be incorporated into the state hazard mitigation plan update. And we're glad that they're including municipal and local officials
Mhm.
in this decision-making process. On that also, we've received a grant. I've just signed it today, a $15,000 grant for drought, for climate mitigation. So we're going to have an opportunity to take a look at what, with some of the changes in climate, what some of the hazards might be. And I've had a conversation with the highway department, and we'll look at other departments and try and come up with any solutions that we need. And we'll be able to also move that information back up to the state.
Thank you very much.
And lastly, I just wanted to also add, that the electricity aggregation, as you know, you voted for it, you approved it, the plan's been rolled out. Letters are being sent out to residents now about the program and about the opt-out. We've been getting quite a few calls in our office, and other people are calling other departments. The thing I guess I just want to make clear on this is that this was a vote by town meeting to aggregate for the town, the whole town.
Mhm.
So we have moved everyone over. It's an opt-out, not an ask to be in. Clearly, anyone can opt out at any point that they would like to. The purpose of doing the aggregation, as you know, and was voted by the town meeting, is to try and have stable rates for the next 3 years. Certainly, we don't know what the rates are gonna be, but electricity is a little volatile at the time, at this point, and certainly you heard some of that in our Millennium Committee meeting this morning. So the goal is really to level that out. National Grid, and this is only for residents who are on the basic open plan for National Grid. So if they have someone like Viridian or someone, a company like that, or a contract, they're not being automatically put into this. I did notice that the prices are a little bit higher than what the open market is right now, but what happens is National Grid changes their pricing every 6 months, and generally the summer months are lower, and then as soon as winter hits, the prices rise for electricity. So the bid that we accepted is looking to actually kind of smooth out. So if you're looking at it now, it may look like it might be a 1/10 of a cent more, but we're hoping that we'll see those savings in the winter months.
Question on that, Ms.
And it's a
Craver.
3-year contract.
For people who actually had existing contracts with, to lock in their rates, does this override that?
No,
Okay.
it will not change. It's only for those who are on the basic, just open market.
Yeah. Interesting, the electricity plan. Such a new concept.
And I did have a gentleman come in and say, so you mean you can't guarantee low prices? I said, we cannot. What we're trying to do is trying to level it out, and we're kind of hedging our bets that in year 2 and 3, that we do know that there are costs and it may go up, so. But
And
they
then
can
plus-
opt out at any point.
And plus economies of scale and whatnot.
Mhm.
Ms.
Do
Noble?
do these rates affect the municipal buildings as well?
No, we have a separate contract that we
Okay.
bid out. They're two separate kind of animals, so to
Mhm.
speak,
Okay.
under contracts. So that's all I have at this point.
Thank you. Any questions for the town administrator? We'll now move on to other business. Selectman Noble, you have an email you'd like to share with us?
Yes, in other business, I did receive an email from a Kristen Costigian, and it was regarding our previous meeting when we talked a little bit about the votes on the 3 ballot questions regarding marijuana in the state of Massachusetts. Ms. Costigian had written to me, and she just wanted to make sure that the rest of the board saw her emails and had a chance to respond to them as they see fit. So I requested that they get put into the minutes of the meeting, so they would be part of the public record, so she would know that her voice was being heard and appreciated.
Absolutely, and this is a good forum to bring those to the attention and to act on.
Thank you.
So, and I believe you also forwarded it to the rest of the board as well.
I did forward it to the rest of the board, so I just appreciate you all taking the time to take a look at it and read what she had to say. She gave some very good information on what votes had ballot questions within her town and the local referendums.
Absolutely, and definitely good information, especially taking any future actions on recreational marijuana.
Yep.
Which we're not doing at this time.
Which we're not doing at this time.
But-
Just want to add that. I
But
just
I-
wanted to add that.
Just want to go on the record and thank Ms. Costigian for her email and for her well-thought-out information.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Is there any other business unknown at the time of posting?
Yes, sir.
Yes, Mr. McGrath.
So, through the chair,
Yes.
we had a meeting with the police search committee,
Mm-hmm.
and,
This wasn't a committee report?
huh?
This wasn't a committee report?
No, because the town administrator and I discussed this, and we believe it needs to come under other business, so.
Fair enough.
She will refresh my memory, I'm sure, or cover me on.
I didn't think of the committee
Or,
report.
or cover me on other issues that I forget. But this was our second meeting, and during the first meeting, we had 4 prospective contractors put forth their proposals to run an assessment center. We rated all 4 proposals. We came up with the top one that we thought would be a very good fit for the town of Charlton. And the Human Resources Director did follow up on that. I also want to give her kudos for the way that she's handled this so far. Everything has been I's dotted and T's crossed, and very easy process to follow. During the discussions that we had at the first meeting, the chief and the rest of the committee, through a long, almost 2-hour period of discussion, came up with that we're going to recommend that we keep it as a promotional assessment center, and I'll go further with that afterwards. The chief referred to us that we have 5 strong candidates that will take the test. One of the fears of the Board of Selectmen was when we were discussing this, that there wouldn't be 5 candidates. The other concern was that he thinks that that we will wind up with the person that's good to lead the department going through this process, and also that it would provide incentive for the people down in the ranks to further their commitment to Charlton, knowing that they can have professional advancement here. So that was at the first meeting. The second meeting, we brought in MMA, Mark Moore Associates, who was the person that we want to interview for the assessment center. And through the discussion, which Ms. Craver was there today, she wasn't there for the first one due to vacation, well-deserved and well-needed. But so we had a very good, almost hour-and-a-half session with Mr. Moore and with the committee. Mr. Moore also brought up other reasons why we would want to do a promotional exam rather than an open exam. So that's where we are now. Robin, I'm sure I forgot something.
More for Deb. So the board's already voted and has applied to HRD to hold 2 separate tests. And anything you do with civil service, you have to apply and get approved. So you already have approval for 2 tests.
Yep.
So the question will be whether or not to rescind the open competitive. So there's 2 types of tests. Are you familiar with it?
Yes, I am.
Okay, great. So as Selectman McGrath said, the consultant recommended to do either or, but don't do both, and thought that was extensive. So you are required to look at your promotional first before you go to a open competitive. And one of the things the chief said was he believed, that people weren't sure with the chief going out whether or not you had 5 strong candidates.
Right.
He is stating that you do now.
The other aspect of that was that Mr. Peters, myself, Mr. Singer, who was at the first meeting but couldn't make this one, also agreed that the promotional exam from within was the way to go, and that's the vote that we took. So
To recommend
to recommend to the selectmen
reconsider.
that we go with a promotional exam from internally.
Noted, and we will take that up at our next meeting, hopefully with a full board. I know there were other concerns that were not addressed from that recommendation, so it'll be a good discussion to have. So, are there any other discussions on that topic? Obviously, we will not be taking any action tonight, and I appreciate the update.
Yep.
Right, is there any other business unknown at the time of posting? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Through the chair,
Mr. McGrath.
I make motion that we adjourn.
Second.
Thank you. A motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Our next regular meeting will be July 18th. And with that, I'll move to a vote. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 Chair votes aye. Thank you very much. We're now adjourned at 8:42. Have a great night.
A job